Okay, week 5. Halfway through my first goal of 10 videos in 10 weeks. The topic last week was Cloud Center of Excellence. That was actually supposed to be the topic this week. And last week I was supposed to cover cloud, specifically IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, but I'm going to cover those this week. Okay, so this week I'm going to talk about cloud, specifically IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS, and where they fit in the enterprise and how I would recommend that you use them. Now, public cloud is kind of like outsourcing certain IT functions in your enterprise. If you look at the three different levels, infrastructure as a service, you're outsourcing just the hardware, the compute, the storage, but you're having to maintain the operating systems of the servers, you're having to maintain the data that's stored on them, the applications that are storing on them, but you don't have to worry about the underlying hardware. With platform as a service, what you're getting is they're providing you some kind of running application that you can put your own configuration on. For example, a database. And they maintain the database server, the database application, the underlying infrastructure that goes along with it. With software as a service, we've gone up one level. And in software as a service, the service provider manages and maintains the actual applications that are running, that are feeding towards you as the customer or feeding towards your customers. So a good example of that would be Xero's accounting platform is a software as a service solution. For the platform as a service, Azure SQL database would be a good example. And for infrastructure as a service, virtual machines running on top of AWS. So that's kind of the framework. Now that you're going to hear a lot of as a service things, telco as a service, desktop as a service, directory as a service. There are lots of niche players within them, but within the cloud space, what you're talking about is generally those main three: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, and software as a service. Now, when should you use each one of them? So I personally have a golden rule, but again, it's not a catch-all. It's just a set of guidelines to help you kind of understand. So when should you go for a software as a service? You should choose a software as a service when it's not your core business. So in other words, you're not an accounting firm, so going and getting Xero software as a service accounting software and running it on their equipment and in their cloud, that makes a good fit. If you need something that is a back-end application or a back-end service that you need to use inside your core business, for example, a database. So you're not a database provider, but you need to use a database. You have some application that has database needs in it. Then platform as a service makes sense, and going to a Cassandra database on AWS or a SQL database on Microsoft Azure makes a lot of sense. The last step is infrastructure as a service. Now, when should you use infrastructure as a service? Ideally, you should only use it when you're building something that is your core business. So you're not going out and buying somebody else's service or application. You're not buying some back-end service, but you're actually developing or building something on your own that maybe doesn't exist, should be aligned to your core business. Now, that generally that's how it should be done. But what actually happens is that most of the time the jump is straight to, let's get off of our on-premise enterprise infrastructure and get it onto IaaS. There is some pushback in the cloud community that you should transform as you move into the cloud. And in my mind, that needs to be a disruptive transformation. So that's not a like-for-like move into the cloud. It's a disruptive move where you break your application into pieces, make each one of those pieces cloud enabled. So in other words, you don't have a database running on an IaaS service, you subscribe to a database service on PaaS within the cloud provider. But oftentimes the move to cloud is seen about cost reduction. If you look at cost for cost, even the IaaS platforms can be less expensive than on-premise if you're actually doing real apples-to-apples comparison against the infrastructure you have. What you need to take into account, though, is service management functions inherent within public cloud. So even at an IaaS level, if you do a like-for-like migration into the cloud, you're going to get better visibility, better control, better analytics, better service reporting on your cloud platform than you will on your current enterprise platform, unless you have an enterprise service management system with monitoring and reporting and service management integration. So cost is a factor, but it's not the only factor. And oftentimes you need to make the move to IaaS before you can do a real disruptive transformation into using cloud services. But what that means is that first like-to-like move, you need to do it using some of the stuff I talked about last week, using a cloud center of excellence, so things get turned on, so checkboxes get made, so you get the best benefit out of the move to IaaS. It's not just copying a VM into a data center. It's actually moving the compute workload into the data center and taking advantages of the cloud. This is only the tip of the iceberg. I could easily do a half an hour, 45 minutes on IaaS alone, and PaaS and all those niche services, directory as a service, desktop as a service. We could talk all night long. So next week, I'll come back, and everybody be good. Let me know what you think. Thanks.